Hello, my friend. Welcome to How to Like Your Life. This is a brain training podcast for mindset transformation. I'm your host, Emily Lies. I'm a brain training specialist and certified hypnotherapist with a master's degree in mind-body medicine. And I'm here to teach you the magic and the science of brain training and self-hypnosis so you can transform your life and also like your life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of How to Like Your Life. I know it's been a while. I have yet to get back into the groove of recording weekly episodes. I promise I'll get back to it sometime very, very soon. It's been a really long and busy and chaotic year, I'm not going to lie, with writing my book and personal stuff going on and the world feeling big and all-consuming right now, honestly. But I'm happy to be back and recording right now. Baby Mangus, my massive fluffy kitty cat, is climbing all over my desk. So if you hear background noises, it's probably him knocking something over. But I want to start by just getting into the irony of today's episode, which is all about how to be consistent. It's really been at the top of my mind because I am not being consistent right now. I'm really feeling distracted. I am not consistently going for my goals and showing up in the way that I want to. And I know I'm not the only one. So I want us to go into this episode with the understanding that this is a human experience. And even for people like me who have the knowledge and the tools and the understanding of why this stuff is happening, it still happens. We still fall off of our routines. We self-sabotage, we don't show up the way we want to. And having the understanding of where that's coming from is really, really helpful. But it's even more helpful to do the reprogramming and the brain training and the rewiring to overcome what is really blocking us. Now, if you're new here, first of all, welcome. I'm so happy that you have stumbled on this episode. I want to just begin by saying that all of the conversations that we have on this podcast are about the subconscious mind, because that is running the entire show of our life. The subconscious takes up 95% of our brain function. It's home to our habits, to our intuition, to our beliefs, to our fears, our emotions, our memories, the way that we think, feel, and behave automatically all day, every day. And so when we feel some kind of strong block that is keeping us from being consistent and showing up and doing the things that we know we need to do in order to succeed in our goals, chances are that block is coming from your subconscious. And when our subconscious minds are blocking something, when they're holding us back, it's not this vicious, manipulative, sabotage, right? It's not this evil force that's keeping you from succeeding. Your subconscious mind is just a little bit confused as to what its job is, because the subconscious's number one priority always is to keep you safe and keep you away from danger. And this comes from old, early human evolution, old programming from back when we were living in caves and fighting off bears every day. And so when you feel these blocks, it means that your subconscious mind, for some reason, doesn't believe that your goal is safe or that this endeavor that you want is safe. That could be because it would mean your life has to change drastically. The subconscious perceives any kind of unfamiliarity as danger because, if you're walking through the woods and you're in an unfamiliar area, you don't know where the beehives are, where the bears live, where the lions and tigers live. You don't know that somebody's not going to jump out at you and hurt you, right? That's where that instinct comes from. So the subconscious looks at change and it freaks out because it thinks you're going to get hurt, even though that change would be wonderful and create so much abundance and happiness and ease in your life. Our programming hasn't evolved as fast as our lifestyles have. So even though I know that being on Broadway wouldn't kill me, right? My subconscious doesn't know that. It looks at my life changing that drastically and being a successful Broadway star as though it's the same as me being chased down by a bear. So your subconscious might not think it's safe. Another reason why you might be resisting showing up every day to achieve your goals is when your subconscious beliefs don't align with that action or that habit or that outcome. For example, I, again, want to be on Broadway. If my subconscious mind holds a strong, deeply rooted belief that I'm not good enough to succeed on Broadway, which is something that I am actively working on reprogramming as we speak, if I held that belief, do you think that I would feel good enough to show up at auditions or practice my skills or network and try to get to know people in the industry or do the things that someone has to do every day to be a successful actor? Probably not, because if my subconscious truly believes I'm not good enough to actually get anywhere, it's not going to see a point. It's going to see those regular daily actions and that consistency as a greater risk of disappointment and shame and failure. So again, it's not going to want me to pursue that. And it's not because my subconscious isn't on my side. It's because it is. It's because it wants me to thrive and stay alive and survive. I did not mean for all of those to rhyme, but here we are. And whatever that is for you in your life and your goals, your subconscious is trying to take care of you. It's trying its best. And so when people find themselves struggling to show up, they set a New Year's resolution and they stop being consistent on the second or third week, they call themselves lazy. They think there's something wrong with them. They think that they're just not cut out for it. And so then we go into these shame spirals and this internalized pressure of, okay, I have to make a plan. I have to make a block schedule in my calendar and make a huge list of all the things I have to do to change my life. And people then lean on discipline and force and willpower to try to counteract that subconscious resistance. We think that if we just barrel through it, that we'll be able to change more successfully. But my friend, discipline and willpower are not the answer because they are conscious processes. It's a conscious decision to show up and force and make something happen. And remember, the conscious mind is only 5% of your brain activity. So that other 95%, all those subconscious beliefs are going to win out in the end. It's going to create more and more resistance because you're going against that fear, that alarm bell, and your little subconscious mind is going to just think, we are in so much danger right now. That is why it's so hard to show up and be consistent, because forcing action increases your stress. It increases your resistance and your potential for burnout. So then we go back and forth with this yo-yo of, okay, I'm going to force everything to change. I'm going to drastically transform my life right now. Like the great lock-in of 2025, that trend that started on TikTok a couple of weeks ago. Everyone's saying it's time to lock in for 3 months or 4 months. We're going to just go all in on our goals and do everything different. But guess what? All those videos I saw 3 weeks ago, I'm not hearing anybody talking about it now because most people probably gave up. Because what follows after that sprint of willpower and discipline is self-sabotage. We start procrastinating. We start being perfectionists, thinking, oh, it's not a perfect routine enough yet. Or we punish ourselves for not following through on making things exactly how we want them. Or we get anxious. We get overwhelmed. Our nervous systems go into fight or flight, and we feel stressed for no reason. The self-sabotage might show up as distracting yourself and convincing yourself that you need to focus on other urgent tasks other than working on your goals, or you lose motivation as soon as things start getting uncomfortable or as soon as you start gaining momentum. Your subconscious is trying its hardest with every tactic it has to pull you back to the way things have always been, because familiarity equals comfort and safety and security and predictability. And guess what? I am not immune to this either. I am very much in the resistance mode right now. I'm finding that it's so hard to show up and focus and really commit each day to the things that will bring me to the next level of my life and my career. And that includes recording this podcast consistently. That includes posting online more consistently. It includes singing if I really want to pursue acting again. But I know that because there's a lot going on in my life, my subconscious isn't perceiving a big drastic change as safe. It wants me to stay in this quiet slow mode for self-preservation. And so for you, the reasons might differ, but I want you to know that lack of consistency does not mean you are lazy. It does not mean you are stuck. It does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. It means that your subconscious is doing its job. And so your job in turn is to show your subconscious a new way. It's to reprogram and release those beliefs, release those fears, and prove to your subconscious that it's safe to succeed in change, that you are enough for the success that you want, and that it's possible to up level in your life and have it be wonderful and safe and perfect for you. But the key to achieving that is not to force things to happen. It's to dig deep into your subconscious mind and communicating with it directly to understand where its concerns are. And once you understand specifically what those blocks are for you and why consistency has been a threat to your subconscious in the past, then you can start to move forward and reprogram it so that it's easy to show up, so that it's natural, so it's automatic. When somebody says, oh yeah, I just kind of do it subconsciously, talking about the way they do things in their life, what they really mean is they do things automatically and effortlessly. And so I'm going to walk you through how you can dig deep into that part of your brain so that the actions you want to take become subconscious and effortless. So here's what you're going to do to get past that resistance and start truly, genuinely showing up consistently in a way that actually feels good, because consistency does not have to equate to discipline and punishment and exhaustion. It doesn't have to be that hard. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to start to get clear on what your subconscious is actually afraid of. It's hard to imagine that we might be afraid of living out our dream lives and reaching all of our goals, right? On the surface level, it doesn't make any sense. But if you dig deeper, you can start to get some really interesting answers. You can do this in a journal. You can do this chatting with a friend or just thinking through things or talking about it in a voice note to yourself. But I want you to start asking yourself, what would be scary about my life changing for the better? What would have to change that would feel hard or effortful or go against how I see myself? I can give you an example. Again, if I really want to be on Broadway, which I'm not actively pursuing right now, but I know the resistance is there, I might find that I don't trust that I can handle that kind of intense physical demand of performing 8 shows a week. I think that I am afraid that I would burn out really fast, that it would be too tiring, that my body couldn't handle it. I think that I would be afraid that I'm not as good or talented as the other people on that stage. I would be afraid that my whole life would change, my whole routine, everything that I know and love about my day-to-day life would have to rearrange itself for me to keep up with that very strict schedule. And there's not a lot of wiggle room there. Okay. So I'm giving you these answers because I've already done a lot of this work around this particular thing. It takes time to uncover that resistance and those fears. I will say though, if you want to get clear on this really fast and reprogram this really fast, I recommend doing something called hypnotic journaling, where you go into a hypnotic trance and you get into that subconscious mind, because it allows you to quiet your rational, conscious, critical mind, and it quiets all that buzzy noise in your mind so that you can get directly down to the subconscious mind and what's going on way more easily. You can do this by bringing yourself into a hypnotic trance by, counting down from 10 to 1 and taking really deep breaths and relaxing your mind and body. But if you want support with this, I'm actually hosting a workshop where we are working on this specific thing. So it's called Fall into Flow. If you're listening to this before October 5th, 2025 at 11 a.m. Eastern time, that is when the workshop's going to be. There will be a live session where I'm going to take you into that deep, deep hypnotic trance, which is way easier to get into with the guidance of a hypnotherapist. And then I'll take you through a hypnotic journaling process to explore these questions and figure out where those blocks are in a way that allows your subconscious mind to speak freely and more clearly. And then we're going to reprogram those beliefs and fears and limitations that come up for you in the moment using hypnosis. If you're interested in having that support, there is a replay if you can't make it live, and all the info is going to be in the show notes. So feel free to check that out, claim your spot. There's payment plans available as well. I just wanted to add that in there because it really does make it easier to go through this when there's guidance, because sometimes we get in our own heads and our conscious minds are too loud for us to really uncover what's going on. So moving on from step 1, which is identifying those limiting beliefs, step 2 is to start releasing that belief on a subconscious level and showing your brain a new way of being, a new way of moving through your life that has concrete evidence that it is safe to show up the way that you want to show up. Because again, everything in your subconscious is about your safety and your survival. In the workshop on October 5th, we're going to go into some really deep, powerful hypnotic tools to let go of those beliefs. But something that you can try on your own as a place to start is giving yourself a new experience of showing up in a way that makes your subconscious feel safe. And the best way that you can do that is using your imagination, because the subconscious learns from experience, from real embodied experience, but it doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So if you start mentally rehearsing in your mind, closing your eyes and visualizing yourself achieving those goals and showing up, doing those actions every day, whatever that is. For me, it might be singing every day and feeling great, or going to auditions, or imagining myself being on Broadway and feeling safe and comfy and joyful. The brain is going to start to realize, oh, this actually isn't that bad. This isn't dangerous, because the more you imagine it, the more familiar it becomes. And when something feels familiar in the context of you feeling safe and cozy while you're laying on the couch or relaxing at the park, your brain's going to start to trust that it's okay, that it's safe, that this destination that you are trying to move toward is not going to hurt you. And in fact, it's going to just help you more and more. This is going to create new neural pathways as the brain starts to see this as okay, as familiar. Again, there's some techniques that we can utilize to release these beliefs in a much deeper way. It's not really is easy to do it on your own. So I would highly recommend joining the workshop, following along, because it'll just help you go that much deeper. But if you want to jumpstart, mental rehearsal and visualizing that positive outcome is going to have drastic impacts on how you move throughout your day. Step 3 then is to take these actions that you want to be consistent with, whether that is posting on social media or practicing your skills or recording more podcasts like I really want to be doing, and start small. Because if you overhaul your entire life and you try to force yourself to change, that's when the resistance comes up, because your subconscious goes into freak out mode because all of a sudden nothing feels familiar or cozy anymore. So start really small, but be consistent with the smallest actions. So for example, if you want to write a novel, rather than telling yourself that you are going to write for an hour a day or you're going to write a chapter a day, start by just writing a paragraph or a sentence, or setting aside 15 minutes on your lunch break. Or if you want to start, working out every day and making yourself feel stronger, rather than saying, I'm going to do an hour of Pilates or an hour of weightlifting, or I'm going to go for a 3-mile run every single day, having not done those things before. Instead, start with the baby steps of showing up. Show up and go for a short walk, or commit to going to the gym for 15 minutes. I can't remember where I read it, but I read about this guy who really wanted to be consistent with going to the gym. So when he started, he would put on his gym clothes, get in the car, drive to the gym, and then sit in the parking lot for a minute and then drive home. And I know this seems pointless, but what happened was that he got into that small habit of showing up. So eventually he got out of his car and he started working out, and it became easier and easier because he started to build trust within his subconscious mind, and that eased the resistance to going in the first place. And then it became easier to build that consistency over time. I really want you to think about your subconscious mind like a little kid who is scared. And if you scream at it, if you punish and discipline it, if you get angry at it for being afraid in the first place, it's just going to make things harder. The key to change, The key to being consistent and doing things each day that will lead you to your goals is to be gentle with your subconscious, because the subconscious mind needs those feelings of ease and effortlessness in order to feel safe enough to keep going. Again, we go way deeper into this whole process of reprogramming your mind and rewiring that inner resistance so that you can be consistent in a much more in-depth way in the Fall into Flow workshop. Again, it's on October 5th. That's a Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. If you can't make it live, there will be a replay available. You just need to sign up before the workshop begins. The link to it is in the show notes. I highly recommend investing in yourself in this way, because this resistance is the difference between you reaching your wildest dreams and you continuing to feel stuck in that spiral of pushing and pulling and sabotaging yourself and starting over and setting New Year's resolutions again and again. Because if you get to the root of what your subconscious is really afraid of, and you show it a new way, and you rewire those old beliefs that have been sticking around in your mind for decades, that is going to accelerate you forward so much faster than pushing yourself ever will. Every time I really sit down to do that kind of rewiring work, it feels like pulling back a slingshot or a bow and arrow and then releasing, and that momentum feels so easy, and there's more joy in the process because your subconscious mind not only is no longer afraid of it, it's also looking forward to it. When you step into the identity of the kind of person who can succeed in your big goals, when you adopt that future self-identity, which we will talk about in that workshop, it's fun to be consistent because it feels like a part of you. So just to reiterate, I want you to start by asking yourself what your subconscious is really afraid of. Why is change scary? How would your life have to change in a way that doesn't feel good? And then start showing yourself a new way, using your imagination, using your subconscious creativity. Visualize a different outcome. Visualize yourself achieving those goals and feeling safe. Visualize yourself showing up, going to the gym, writing that book, auditioning for Broadway shows from the comfort of your own home. And that's going to help your brain release that fear. And then when you take actions, start small, build trust with yourself that you're not going to force, you're not going to push. And that's going to open so many more doors for success and ease and action. Okay? I know I gave you a lot here, so mull that over. Check out the workshop, Fall into Flow, in the show notes to learn more and claim your spot. I would absolutely love to see you there and support you through this process of really finally going for what you want and allowing it to happen for you this time. And as always, I want to remind you that you are capable of liking the process and enjoying the process. It's not just the end goal that we're working toward here. This podcast is called How to Like Your Life for a reason, because part of your life is the journey to your goals. Most of your life is the journey. So as you learn how to enjoy it and release that fear and that stuckness, there's going to be so much more possibility for celebration and feeling happy with yourself along the way. You are so capable of liking your life. You are capable of achieving the things that you want. If you found this episode useful, please make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you feel so inclined, 5-star ratings and positive reviews on podcasts are so incredibly helpful in my ability to reach more people and help more and more people like their lives and have access to these free resources. If you had any aha moments, please feel free to share them on your Instagram story and tag me or send me a DM. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will talk to you next time. Bye, friend.